Well, good morning or afternoon, whichever the case may be. How you doing? Happy Tuesday,
and,
guys.
This week we're going to be
We're making it.
We're
going to be all right.
PowerPoint slides.
You just keep asking questions and getting directions.
Generally
and
be about 4
please
slides.
make sure you're staying up.
That'll help you fill out
other
part
classes
of your guided
Please
notes.
make sure you're doing that.
So
For us,
let's just get
remember
started.
what we're doing is filling in
the
our
last
guided note sheet.
PowerPoint.
And
We learned about
eventually we'll get to the point
Hubble
where we're
and
also
how
filling in
his
our
discovery
vocabulary.
was different.
So let's just move
than
forward with
Lemaitre.
our next
Now,
slide. Remember,
Edwin
each
Hubble
PowerPoint's only going to be
noticed
about 4
that
slides
the light
long.
from
And
galaxies that were moving away
sometimes
from
they'll
Earth,
help us fill
that the light
things in
was
our
shifting
note
in
sheet,
color
and sometimes
towards
it's
red.
just
We call that
good
red
background
shift.
information.
And
So
he took that a step further.
Remember, we're looking
He
for
established
4 evidences
found mathematically
that back up that Big Bang Theory.
you can calculate
Okay? That's our immediate
how
goal here.
old
And we found evidence
that
number 1
existing galaxy
in
is
our last
if
PowerPoint,
you run it
and
through
that
his
was
formula.
the age of
We
star
do not
clusters.
have to do
How that's
the formula.
determined is
But he
Hubble's
established
law.
basically a lot like Newton's law.
Now he
Newton's laws
built
of
this
motion, we learned
mathematical
about in middle
formula on a couple of things.
that there's
If
Hubble's
you recall
law
from last week,
and
he
again,
found
it's
that galaxies
based
are
on
moving away
the
from
movement
Earth.
of galaxies.
He was
the
also
speed at
able
which
to
they're
determine
moving,
the speed
and then you can determine
at which they
how
were
old
moving away from
the
Earth.
universe is.
So that's just a simple formula like you guys learned back in middle school.
to the next
Distance equals rate times
Well,
time.
good morning or afternoon,
Time.
whichever the case
He was
may be
able
when
to
you're
take
watching
that
this.
formula and figure out
We're going to continue
age
on to expand
of star
the whole
clusters that
lesson
are
on
moving
universe
away
and
from this
galaxies.
mysterious
And
point in
it's
3D
probably going
space.
to look like this. Maybe you
And so
might
that's
get,
where we come up with this number,
2,
13 to
3, maybe
15
4
billion years ago.
PowerPoints loaded up
Because
each week.
we
Each one's
track
only going to be about 4
backwards
slides long.
The movement of other galaxies,
if
and
this
we figure out,
continues to
well,
work,
it looks
I'll
like
just
they've been
narrate
moving
through
for
them like
this
we would have
amount
in
of time.
class.
That's where people come
So
up with the
that
number.
takes us to our first slide that we've got
you do
here
that when
today.
you watch the
remember we were
NASCAR races.
paying attention and
Okay,
watching.
so
for
we don't need to do
4
anything with Hubble's
legs
law. We
that
don't
the
need to
Big
write it
Bang
down.
Theory
We don't
stands
need
on.
to do
And
any
here is
calculations.
evidence number 1.
But if you look in pink,
age
that pink
of star
right
clusters.
in the middle, okay,
How that's
velocity
arrived at is using Hubble's law.
equals,
Now, in the previous
PowerPoint, we
Hubble's
learned about
parameter
Edwin Hubble
at the observer.
So,
Okay,
and then
in his observation
distance
of light
that
from
galaxy
other
from us.
galaxies,
Okay, and that's
that are
called
moving
Hubble's
away
law.
from Earth.
But back that up.
he
What's
developed
evidence number
this
1?
mathematical law. We
You
don't
might
have to
wanna
do
write
anything
this
down
down
at the
with it.
bottom
You don't
of the
have to
calculate
calculate
it. We don't have
the
to play with it.
age of
But it's
star
enough
clusters
to know that he
based
developed
on
a
Hubble's
mathematical
law.
formula that tells you how old the universe is based on the movement of galaxies. And that brings us to, again, evidence number 1, the age of star clusters based on mathematical calculations. Okay, so
All right,
I took
Hubble's law and kind of broke it apart
So I took
a little bit.
Hubble's law and kind of broke it apart
And
a little bit more.
just like
so
what I
that
was referring
we
to
would
last
kind
week,
of figure out
the
what it is.
expanding universe. Remember, everything
Again, he
appears to
noticed
be
that the universe,
moving
the
and
universe,
moving
the
away
galaxies were
from
all moving
some
away. So
point
it starts
in
with the
3D
premise
space.
that the universe is constantly moving.
Astronomers
and that
know
includes Earth,
where to
right?
locate that
Because
point.
let's
What's
stop
so
thinking about
special
that a minute.
about that point?
The Earth,
Who knows?
rotates around the sun.
You can
know that,
come
so
up with your
Earth
own
is moving.
theories, honestly.
But the
Okay.
sun,
But everything appears
even
to be
though
moving
it
away
doesn't
from that
move
one point
relative
in space.
to the planets
So,
in our solar
what
system,
is Hubble's law?
that
It's used to
set
calculate the
of
distance
stuff, the star
from
and
that
all its
point,
planets, that set,
and then we
that
arrive
solar system
at the age of the universe.
is moving away
Okay, mathematically
from
okay,
another
remember?
solar
science
system.
box. Science box. Okay, so what do we mean by redshift?
Okay, well,
and then remember that
Hubble's
the
law
light
used
from
to
those
explain
galaxies
or calculate the
shifts.
distance by
And
using
it
the
changes.
equation. I just wrote down the
Instead of it
variables
being
'cause I don't
yellow,
want you guys to
it
get
shifts
lost
toward
in what the formula is. Again, we don't
red.
have to do
Instead
it.
of it being
We
orange.
don't even have to play with it.
Okay,
Right? And
It
it's
shifts
based
toward
on
yellow. I
his
think I
discovery
got my
of
colors
redshift.
order correct.
That stars
But
are
it tends
moving away
to
from,
change its wavelength.
in his case, Earth, but it's
It
safe
shifts
to
toward
then
red
calculate
as it moves away
that
from
they
here.
are all
And
moving
so
away
how
from
do we
each other.
measure the distance of stars? We do
Okay.
it with Hubble's
And
equation.
so if we use Hubble's equation, then we end up with this, 3-point astronomical units, and that's a parsec. Okay? So that's about Hubble's law. Okay? Speaking
that
of
takes us
which, to evidence number
here's evidence
two
number 2.
for the Big Bang Theory. The fact that redshift happens
to light
happens.
in outer space.
So once again, what's
Okay.
redshift?
And here's
well, this second kind of paragraph
something that
on
emits
that
light,
page, as light
like a
travels
star
to
or
or
galaxy,
from other galaxies,
moves
as
away
the
from an
distance
observer
between Earth
and
and
that
that
color
galaxy
of its
increases,
light
the
shifts
wavelength
toward
of that
red.
light,
If it
gets
was green,
longer, it shifts toward red. If it was a
the
green
next slide
gas
I'm going
burning
to show
star,
you what
let's
I
say
mean.
that star was full of copper and it's burning green. As it moves away from you, its light will shift toward yellow. If its light was yellow, it will shift toward orange. If the light from a star was orange, it will shift more toward red. So the red is on the far end of the color spectrum. Remember Roy G. Biv. So the light shifts toward that end of the spectrum. Okay? So let me just read it. As light travels from other galaxies and the distance increases, the wavelength of that light gets longer. Okay? Next. Here's the color spectrum.
Start
That video
over
right there
on
is
the right-hand
probably
side
a pretty good
and go
video. I think
Roy
I remember that one from
G.
a few years
Biv.
ago. But
Red,
this slide
orange,
is
yellow,
just info.
green,
It's just
blue,
to give you
indigo,
in color,
violet.
something in color that you can look
Violet's
at.
the color just before black.
And
Roy
so
G.
let's
Biv.
say that we
Now you
had
gotta
a
start over on the
a
right.
star, red,
This is not really
orange,
possible,
yellow,
but
maybe we had a star that was
green,
burning copper,
blue, indigo,
and
violet.
right?
Just pretend.
So
It was
when light.
the color of that star is
travels
green.
away from you.
Well, we don't have green stars, but
Over
the color of that star would
very
be
great
green.
distance, over a long distance.
As it
the
red
color of
shifted
that
away
light
from us,
shifts toward red, and that's evidence number
the
two.
light from
Now, if you
that
notice,
star would become
we haven't been
yellow.
able to fill in on our
Our
guided
star,
notes. We haven't been able to fill in
the
anything
one,
yet.
ours in our solar system,
We haven't been able to
is
fill
kind
in
of
number
yellowish
4.
orangey, right?
Okay,
It's
but all
kinda
this
more
was
yellow.
important
So
because
for
it's
somebody
going to
way on the other side
help
of the
establish
universe,
as
those legs
our solar
that the Big
system
Bang Theory
shifts
stands
and moves away, the color of our star is going to go from a yellow to a more of an orange, or perhaps even an orangey red. So that's what that means. Now, if you notice, we haven't really been able to fill in anything on our notes so far. Okay, we haven't been able to fill in number 4. We're going to in the next show. Guys, if you see this, it depends on how you open this file. You might see that little speaker icon in the middle, or the audio may play just on its own. I tried to do the audio in 2 different ways. So whichever way works for you, fantastic. Alrighty, so be watching for that next PowerPoint, and at that point we should be able to start filling in number 4 and 5. If you didn't fill anything in, except maybe those 2 evidences at the bottom of your page, you're fine. I'll see you in a couple of days.